Good evening, YouTube. This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully, you guys are having a good start to the weekend. Originally, I wasn't going to be posting a video because thought I was going to be out of town, but that has been postponed to next week. And there have been a few new developments here, and we are drawing closer to some of those severe weather days that lie ahead. So I figured I might as well pop up here. So hopefully, you guys aren't tired of my voice, and we're gonna get right into it. Of course, as I get into this video, hopefully you guys like what I'm doing, and you'll share this video, share the channel, really get the algorithm going so we can help get this warning out to the people that need it. Well, let's get right into it here. Caught me looking at a little bit of weather data from the Storm Prediction Center. So today we had a slight risk here in Florida, around central Florida. Threat's just about over from the looks of it. We're actually going to go a little bit further back here. There's not even any severe thunderstorm warnings or watches anymore for this, so we can pretty much move on to day 2 now. I think the worst of the threat is over. You may have a special marine warning here on the southeastern coast of Florida. Excuse me, but this storm 2 will move off coast, and then we will be clear for the day, for the evening, I should say. So let's go to day 2. We have yet another slight risk. We talked about this yesterday, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth with this. It's not too much to go in depth about. Not much has changed at all. Still minuscule tornado threat, less than 2% in all areas. The wind and the hail threat is definitely going to be the highlight of this storm. So let's also take a look at a day that I'm really interested in getting into, since we're now in range of the short range models. And that's day 3. And we can see that our slight risk area has gotten just maybe a little bit bigger. It's a little bit further south too. Well, actually, no, it's made a push north. We have areas like San Antonio, Austin, now in play as well. This pushes a little bit further east too. Areas like Jackson are now in play. Greenville, you're in play for Greenville. You're just on the line. Wouldn't be surprised if you end up in this tomorrow. Wichita Falls, you're in play for a slight risk of severe weather. Fort Sill in Oklahoma, you're in play. Abilene, you're in the marginal risk. Houston, you're in the marginal. And New Orleans, you're in the marginal, as well as Mobile and Greenville, Mississippi. So we don't, obviously, with it being day 3, we don't have an idea of what the hazards will look like, but I will go into detail with that in a moment based off what we see on the forecast models. So if we look through days 4 through 8, this is where things start to really get interesting. So on day 4, we have a severe weather risk of 15%. It's now moved to the east. New Orleans, you're now on the slight risk. Jackson, you're in the slight risk for a second day in the row. But now this includes Birmingham, Mobile, and pretty much almost all of Georgia. In the Florida Panhandle, Panama City, Tallahassee are in play, and then of course, need I even say it, Atlanta, hometown, all of y'all, we're in play for this, okay? So definitely might want to keep an eye on the weather on Tuesday. And this continues onward. We go to Wednesday. We go to Wednesday here, and guess what? Atlanta, you're in line for a second day of potential severe weather. Columbus, you are as well. Dothan, you're just outside this slight risk line. I wouldn't be surprised to see that push further south and include you guys. Chattanooga, you're in play. Nashville, you're just outside of it to the west. I think maybe on Tuesday you guys might get involved. Birmingham, you're in it again. Jackson, you're in it again. I think this will be an earlier morning type of threat for Jackson. But we'll take a look into Tuesday and Wednesday's risk in the coming days. I'm still waiting for those days to get into the short range, so that way we get a better idea of what's to come. So we'll look at day 6. and we have one more area here. For the most part, this severe threat is, I'm expecting it to be waning, but there's still probably going to be mostly a wind threat. Be hard to tell what kind of mode the storms will be in, but it's definitely something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. The northernmost part of the South Carolina coast, you're in play for this. Wilmington, Raleigh, you're just outside of the slight risk line, but I think that this could potentially push a little bit back to the west and include you. And then we have Virginia Beach in play as well. Hampton, Virginia, you're in play for some severe weather on Thursday. And thankfully, on days 7 and 8, the potential for those days are too low to make the forecast, which would be a welcome break for everybody. So, main thing we need to focus on is just trying to get through this week. Then maybe we might have some better days ahead. So all that being said, let's take a look at the low-level jet for tomorrow. So we're looking at the NAM 3 kilometer here. Could have took a look at the HRRR, but we're just not quite in range of it yet. So just working with what I got here. So we're about 15 hours out now. This is early in the morning, and we do have a little area where we have a low-level jet that develops up to about the 50-mile-per-hour mark, which is what you would want, which is what you would be looking for a severe weather threat, even though this one is very minuscule and very isolated in nature. The slight risk area is right about here where I'm showing the cursor. So we'll move this forward. And this little low-level jet tries to sneak in little pieces in, little small wind maximums, but there just isn't really enough shear to suggest anything tornadic at all. I think this threat is going to be early in the day, and then it's going to diminish. And then we watch this low-level jet really start to ramp up in nature from the looks of it. And by late Monday night into early Tuesday morning, that's when we start looking at our severe weather threat. And that's when we're at the end of our model run here. So let's take a look at the Cape, see what we got to work with over the next few days. We can see that there's still some Cape left over in Florida. You might get one more storm that tries to pulse severe into the night, but I think this will quickly die off as we lose the daytime heating. So after that, we're gonna go all the way to Sunday. We get some sufficient Cape values, but it just doesn't really seem like we're gonna get too much out of that. We get some Cape values around 1,000 to maybe even 1,500, but nothing magnanimous here. I'm interested to see what Monday will look like on the Cape. And there you have it. Look right here. We're starting to get into the thousands, starting to get into the 1,500s even, around southern Texas, which was an area of interest, which is why the Storm Prediction Center has gone with that slight risk here. Kinematics aren't the greatest that I've ever seen, but it's sufficient enough for some weather. Ah, geez. Here we go. Oh, wait. No, it didn't freeze on me. So let's go to the temperatures. Let's see what we're working with here. We'll take a look at the temperatures and the dew points, because that's a key part in trying to factor in Cape. So again, we're looking into Saturday evening. Uh-oh. Come on, baby. Work with me here. There we go. Sorry, guys. The computer tried to get a little wonky with me. So, there we go. We have more than sufficient enough temperatures. We have some spots that are reaching 80s around the panhandle of Texas. I think South Texas is a very big point of interest for emphasis and interest for severe weather tomorrow. And then even some spots even get to 90. So these temperatures are more than sufficient enough for some storms. You can kind of even see where, you can kind of see little blobs where the air started to cool, and I'm thinking that could be a point where they're suggesting that's where the storms could be forming. We'll look at the reflectivity in a minute here, because I'm trying to make this video pretty quick. I'm not trying to take up you guys' time too much. And then as we look into Monday, we'll watch the temperatures surge again. This time in the southern end of Texas here, we're getting some 70s, we're getting some 80s. I think the further out east you go, the warmer the temperatures and probably the warmer the dew points. So I think around the eastern half of Texas is where things will get started, but it'll really pick up around Louisiana and Mississippi, maybe even into Arkansas. So we'll watch this move further and further to the east. We lose our daytime heating. We get our low temperatures for the day. And then that's the end of our model run here. Let's go to the dew points very quickly. Gambling that this will load quick. Excuse me. And then, we can already see some dew points trying to build into the southern part of Texas. There's a nice little rush of moist air that tries to make its way towards that area of interest on Sunday afternoon. Doesn't quite get there. You do get some dew points into the 50s, but it's going to be mostly dry if you're looking at severe weather here. You really want these dew points that are further down to the south, where you see them in the 60s, and even some of these darker tinted colors that are pushing towards 70. So as we move further and further along towards Monday evening, you see that building up to the north, and then it all pushes back south. And this is why I'm really interested in this. I think these Cape values that they're showing us could be higher potentially, because look, further down south we go, we're getting dew points into the 70s in the late evening hours. Got temperatures in the 80s around this area. This place, I expect it to be a powder keg, and then we will watch this all move to the east. And there you have it. Look into Louisiana, we're getting into the 60s. 70s are even trying to creep their way onto the coast towards New Orleans. So we'll definitely have to watch Monday night and Tuesday morning very closely for severe weather. Now to take a look at now we're going to take a final look. We're actually going to get in up close and personal here. We're going to get a close look at the reflectivity. This is what the radar could look like over the next 60 hours. Not a guarantee, but this could give us an idea. So we've loaded up very quickly. That's always a good thing. So we see our little low pressure here that's going to be the catalyst for the weather tomorrow. So it's just kind of meandering around the northern part of the northern parts of the panhandle of Texas, and just off the Oklahoma panhandle as well. We just watch this thing just kind of sit around and spark off some severe weather, actually late into the evening. So a few things have changed since the last time I've looked. Mostly looks like a wind threat. A couple of isolated storms, but it's relatively weak in nature. There aren't very high dew points to work with. The further north you go, the Cape is a little bit more limited. So this doesn't really look like it's going to be a big deal. Now, watch this little sneaky joker right here. This guy's going to be the real troublemaker and cause a lot of the severe weather that's ahead for us. So we watch this thing meander, start to dissipate, and then lo and behold, into the late evening hours, this is where our dry lines formed up, and this is where our storms will be developing on Monday night. And as we go further and further along, it's going to develop further to the south. We do have a look where there could be some potential supercells out ahead of the storm. We're going to get a sounding, try to see just what our curvature looks like. Doesn't look like it's going to be anything majorly tornadic, but it's probably going to be some severe wind and some hail for sure. I think over towards this area I would be more interested. Yep, and there you have it. Look at that. Lo and behold, we have our curvature in the hordeograph and our probable hazard type. Look at that, tornado. Dew points in the 60s, Temperatures in the 60s. Looking like there's going to be plenty of convection ahead of the line. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out on Monday evening. Oops. Uh-oh. Ah, jeez. There we go. Uh-oh. I went a little bit further ahead. Or actually, that is the end of the model run. I might try to see if there's any way I could take a look at Tuesday at all. I wonder if I wonder what the Euro is going to show. This might make the video longer, but I'm pretty sure you guys might want to know about this. I'm at 15 minutes. I'll try to make this real quick. Let's just skip forward here. So we'll take a brief look. Further and further out we go on these medium to longer range models, the less defined the picture looks. So I do apologize for that. We're on the high-res Euro, or it's supposed to be high-res, but it's not really showing me anything impressive here. We do have another very messy weather system. I do think that these could be some supercells trying to develop here on the southern side of on the southern end of this, whatever you would call this. I just call it a mess. Of course, we have very rich dew points, very warm temperatures, and there's our tornado threat. As I would expect with the way this picture looks, a lot of convection, so these will probably be rain-wrapped storms. And then we'll watch this probably move further and further off to the east. We'll actually switch over to the southeastern regional. Come on now. There we go. So we'll switch over to the regional for the southeast. We'll move forward to the 66th hour. Just to get a little sneak peek here. And there we have it. There we have it. And let's look here. So further and further north we go in this run. Oops. Further and further north we go on this run. We're looking at more of a marginal severe threat. But I do think this escalates in nature the further and further we go into Tuesday. So we do have a little bit of a slight curvature, not a very spectacular one, but I think as time goes on, these temperatures will rise. I think there's a lot of changes that are to come for this little meso event on Tuesday. That looks very interesting, seeing that little curvature there. So New Orleans, you might want to watch out. I think the tornado threat's a little bit higher than what's being shown right now, but of course with it being this far out, it's kind of hard to say. So we'll take a look here, try to get a sounding of this. I do see a curvature here, but they aren't really able to pick up on much of anything. Temperatures are kind of limited here. There's plenty of convection, but lapse rates aren't incredible either. You kind of want to see a little bit of space between the temperature here in the red and the dew point in the green. But it is interesting. They aren't really picking up on too much CAPE. Excuse me. So we're just going to go to the end of this model run here. Definitely looks like a line of storms develops into late Tuesday night and early Wednesday. And then this pushes its way off to the east. So we'll talk more about Tuesday a little bit more in depth tomorrow. Once we get in range of stuff like the NAM. We'll get a little bit more in detail about Monday once we get a hold of the HRRR, but that's all I have for you guys tonight. Happy I got to post this video for you. Last video I think is doing pretty well considering how many subs we have on the channel, so I appreciate that. But anyway, this is all I got for you guys. This has been Toddy Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys have a good rest of your Saturday night.